The autumn wind swept through downtown Portland, carrying leaves of amber and gold past the windows of Bellinotte, a cozy Italian bistro tucked between modern glass buildings. Owen Fletcher sat near the back corner, checking his watch for the third time in 10 minutes. The restaurant hummed with quiet conversation and the soft clink of silverware against porcelain. Owen adjusted the collar of his navy sweater, a deliberate choice to dress down for tonight. At 29, he had built one of the fastest-growing tech companies in the Pacific Northwest, but success had brought him everything except the one thing he craved: someone who saw him, not his bank account. His younger sister Grace had set up this blind date after months of pestering. She insisted this woman was different, special, someone Owen needed to meet. He had agreed only to stop Grace's relentless texts, expecting another polished professional who had researched him on LinkedIn before walking through the door. The entrance bell chimed softly. Owen glanced up and felt his breath catch. An artist enters. A young woman stepped inside, brushing raindrops from her shoulders. She wore a dress that appeared hand-stitched, flowing fabric in deep forest green with small wooden buttons running down the front. Her auburn hair fell in natural waves around her face, and she carried a tote bag made from repurposed canvas. There was something luminous about her, not from makeup or expensive styling, but from an inner quietness that drew the eye. She spotted Owen and smiled, a genuine expression that reached her eyes. "Owen Fletcher?" she asked, approaching the table with unhurried steps. "Yes, you must be Claire." "Claire Davenport." She extended her hand, and her grip was firm, her palms slightly rough with calluses. "I hope you have not been waiting long." "No, not at all." Owen pulled out her chair, noticing she did not fuss with her appearance or apologize for anything. She simply sat down, placed her bag beside her feet, and looked at him with clear hazel eyes that held no pretense. The waiter appeared, and they ordered. Owen watched as Claire chose the simplest pasta dish on the menu without studying prices. When the waiter left, an easy silence settled between them. "Grace speaks highly of you," Claire said, folding her hands on the table. "She said you are someone worth knowing." "My sister has always been optimistic," Owen replied with a slight smile. "What did she tell you about me?" "That you are kind, that you work too much, that you love old bookstores." Claire tilted her head. "She did not mention what you do for a living, which I found refreshing." Discovering authenticity. Owen felt something loosen in his chest. "You really do not know?" Owen asked simply. "Should I?" Claire asked. "I assumed if it mattered, you would tell me. I'm more interested in who you are than what you do." For a moment, Owen just stared. In the past 5 years, he couldn't remember a single person approaching him without already knowing his net worth, his company valuation, or his appearance in Forbes under 30. "What about you?" he asked. "What do you do?" Claire reached into her tote bag and carefully withdrew something wrapped in cloth. She unfolded the fabric to reveal a small ceramic bowl, its glaze swirling with blues and greens like ocean waves captured in clay. She set it gently on the table between them. "I make things," she said quietly. "Pottery mostly. Bowls, cups, plates. I sell them at farmers markets and a few local shops. I also teach pottery classes to kids at the community center on weekends." Owen picked up the bowl, feeling its weight, the smoothness of the glaze, the slight imperfections that proved it was handmade. "This is beautiful." "I thought you might like it. Grace mentioned you drink a lot of tea. This seemed like it would fit your hands." The gesture struck him deeply. This woman, knowing nothing about his wealth, had brought him a handmade gift that probably took hours to create, not because she wanted something from him, but because she thought he might appreciate it. "Do you make a living from pottery?" asked Owen genuinely. "Enough to get by," answered Claire without embarrassment. "I live simply. Small apartment, no car, not many possessions. But I have what I need, and I do work I love. That feels like wealth to me." Unguarded conversation. As their food arrived, the conversation flowed naturally. Claire told him about growing up in foster care, moving between homes, finding solace in art classes where she could create something permanent and beautiful.
She spoke of the kids she taught, many from difficult backgrounds, and how pottery gave them a way to express feelings they couldn't put into words. Owen found himself sharing things he rarely discussed: the pressure of running a company, the loneliness of board meetings where people agreed with everything he said, the strange isolation that came with success, where friendships felt transactional and relationships felt strategic. "I built something I'm proud of, but somewhere along the way, I lost the feeling of being known, really known. Everyone sees the company, the achievements. Nobody asks what I actually care about." Claire listened without interrupting, without offering quick solutions or empty reassurances. When he finished, she simply nodded. "Being seen is not the same as being noticed," she said softly. "Lots of people get noticed, very few get seen." A shift in understanding. The evening stretched on. They ordered dessert, then coffee, neither wanting the night to end. Owen learned that Claire volunteered at an animal shelter, that she loved thunderstorms, that she had never owned a television but read voraciously. She asked Owen about his childhood, his relationship with Grace, what he would do if money was not a factor. "I think I would teach," Owen said, surprising himself with the answer. "Maybe computer science to kids who could not otherwise access it. Give them tools to build their own futures." Claire smiled. "That sounds like someone who hasn't forgotten where he came from." As they finally stood to leave, Owen realized he had not checked his phone once. For 3 hours, the constant buzz of notifications and demands had faded completely. He felt present in a way he hadn't experienced in years. Outside the restaurant, the rain had stopped. The streets glistened under streetlights, and the air smelled clean and fresh. "Can I see you again?" Owen asked. Claire looked up at him, her expression thoughtful. "I would like that, but I need you to know something first. I don't know what you do for work, and honestly, it doesn't matter to me. If we see each other again, I want it to be because we enjoy each other's company, not because of anything else." Owen's throat tightened with emotion. "That's exactly what I want too." She handed him a small card with her phone number written with careful handwriting. No social media handles, no email address, just a simple way to reach her. As Claire walked away into the night, Owen stood holding the ceramic bowl and the card, feeling like he had just met someone who might change everything.
3 days passed before Owen called Claire, not because he did not want to reach out sooner, but because he wanted to do it right. He found himself thinking about her constantly during board meetings, while reviewing quarterly reports, even while lying awake at 2 a.m. when sleep would not come. The ceramic bowl sat on his desk at home, filled with loose tea leaves, a daily reminder of someone who had given without expecting anything in return. When he finally dialed her number, she answered on the second ring. "I was wondering when you would call," Claire said, her voice warm with amusement. "I did not want to seem too eager," Owen admitted. "Why not? Eager is honest." He could hear the smile in her voice. "What are you doing Saturday afternoon?" "Whatever you want me to be doing." Claire laughed, a sound like wind chimes on a summer porch. "Come to my studio. I want to show you where I work. Dress in clothes you do not mind getting dirty." A different kind of wealth. Saturday arrived with crisp autumn sunshine. Owen drove his Tesla to the address Claire had given him, then parked 2 blocks away, suddenly self-conscious about the car. He had chosen old jeans and a faded university sweatshirt, the most casual clothes he owned that did not still have tags attached. The studio occupied the ground floor of a converted warehouse in southeast Portland, sharing space with a vintage furniture restorer and a letterpress printer. The neighborhood was a patchwork of creativity, with murals covering brick walls and small gardens growing in unexpected places. Claire met him at the door, wearing clay-stained overalls and a bandana holding back her hair. Her face lit up when she saw him. "You actually wore old clothes," she said approvingly. "Come in." The studio was a single large room with industrial windows letting in floods of natural light. Shelves lined the walls, crowded with finished pieces in various stages of glazing. A pottery wheel sat near the center, surrounded by buckets of clay and tools. Everything was organized but lived in, a workspace that spoke of countless hours of focused creation. "This is wonderful," Owen said, genuinely impressed. "How long have you been here?" 2 years.
I share the rent with 3 other artists. We take turns manning a small shop front where we sell our work." Claire walked to a shelf and carefully lifted down a large serving platter, its surface decorated with delicate leaf impressions. "This is what I'm working on this month, a commission for a restaurant downtown." Owen studied the piece, noticing the incredible detail in each pressed leaf, the way the glaze caught light and shadow. "This is art, Claire, real art." She set the platter down gently. "It is work I love. That makes me lucky." Teaching through clay. A knock at the door interrupted them. Claire glanced at the clock on the wall. "Oh, I forgot to mention, I teach a class on Saturday afternoons, a few kids from the community center. Would you mind staying? You could help if you want." Before Owen could answer, 4 children tumbled through the door, ranging in age from about 8 to 12. They greeted Claire with easy affection, then looked at Owen with open curiosity. "Everyone, this is my friend Owen," Claire said simply. "Owen, meet Jasmine, Marcus, Lily, and Thomas." The children settled at a long work table, and Claire distributed balls of clay. She moved among them with patient guidance, asking about their week, praising their efforts, gently correcting techniques. Owen watched, fascinated by how naturally she connected with each child, how she seemed to understand what they needed before they asked. "Do you want to try?" Lily, the youngest, asked Owen, pushing a lump of clay toward him. "You have to wedge it first," Thomas explained, seriously, demonstrating the technique of kneading clay to remove air bubbles. "Otherwise it explodes in the kiln." For the next hour, Owen found himself completely absorbed in the simple act of shaping clay. The children chattered easily, telling stories about school, friends, and family. Jasmine was in foster care, like Claire had been. Marcus lived with his grandmother. Lily's father worked 2 jobs. Thomas was saving money to buy his mother a birthday present. These kids carried heavy stories, yet here in the studio, their hands busy with creation, they seemed lighter, free to just be children for a little while. Vulnerable truths. After the class ended and the children left carrying their clay creations carefully wrapped in newspaper, Claire and Owen cleaned up in comfortable silence. She showed him how to wedge clay properly, and they worked side by side, their shoulders occasionally brushing. "You were good with them," Owen said quietly. Claire rinsed her hands in the utility sink. "They remind me of myself at that age. Art gave me a place to put all the feelings I couldn't say out loud. Anger, sadness, hope. I could shape it all into something tangible." "Is that why you teach?" "Partly. Also because nobody should have to figure out life completely alone." She dried her hands on a towel. "Want to see something?" She led him to a cabinet in the corner and pulled out a shoebox. Inside were dozens of photographs of ceramic pieces, some beautiful, some clearly made by inexperienced hands. Each photo had a name and date written on the back. "Every kid I've taught, I keep photos of their first piece and their most recent. You can see the growth, not just in skill, but in confidence. This is what matters to me. This is the wealth I measure my life by." Owen looked through the photos, his throat tight with emotion. Here was someone who had built a different kind of empire, one made of connection and transformation, rather than capital and contracts. "I've never met anyone like you," he said honestly. Claire smiled, but something sad flickered in her eyes. "Owen, can I ask you something?" "Anything." "What do you do for work, really?" The weight of truth. Owen hesitated, then decided honesty was the only path forward. They sat on a worn couch near the windows, and he told her everything. The tech startup he had founded at 24, the explosive growth, the acquisition offers he'd turned down, the current valuation that put his company at just over $2 billion, the constant pressure, the endless
The next 72 hours passed in a blur of conference calls, presentation revisions, and strategic planning sessions. Owen barely slept, surviving on coffee and the relentless drive that had built his company from nothing. His penthouse apartment became a war room, with Nathan and 3 other executives camped out around his dining table, surrounded by laptops and projection screens. The Singapore deal represented everything they had worked toward, a partnership that would expand their technology into Asian markets, potentially tripling their valuation within 2 years. It was the kind of opportunity that came once in a lifetime. Yet, every time Owen had a spare moment, his mind drifted to Claire, to the quiet of her studio,
to the way she had looked at him with complete acceptance, to the sound of children laughing while shaping clay. He had texted her twice, brief messages apologizing for his silence. Her responses were understanding, patient, never demanding more than he could give. Sunday evening, Nathan leaned back in his chair and rubbed his eyes. "We are as ready as we will ever be. The presentation is solid, the numbers are undeniable. Tomorrow, we close the biggest deal of our lives." Owen nodded, but his chest felt hollow. Success had always been the goal, the measure by which he judged his worth. So why did it suddenly feel insufficient? The warning from a friend. After the others left, Nathan lingered at the door. He and Owen had been friends since college, had built this company together through countless all-nighters and near failures. Nathan knew him better than almost anyone. "Grace mentioned you have been seeing someone," Nathan said carefully. "The artist." Owen met his friend's eyes. "Claire, yes." Nathan shifted uncomfortably. "Look, I am saying this as your friend. Be careful. You're a billionaire, Owen. Women like that, they see an opportunity." "Claire is not like that," Owen said sharply. "Maybe not consciously, but think about it. She lives in poverty. You have unlimited resources. The power dynamic alone makes this complicated." He held up his hand as Owen started to protest. "I am not saying she is a bad person. I am saying you need to protect yourself. We have worked too hard to build this for someone to come along and complicate everything." After Nathan left, Owen stood at his floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city lights. Portland sprawled below him, millions of lives intersecting in ways both profound and mundane. Somewhere out there, Claire was probably in her small apartment, perhaps reading by lamplight or working on a new design sketch. Nathan's words echoed uncomfortably. Was he being naive? Was his loneliness making him vulnerable to someone who might ultimately want something from him? But then he remembered the ceramic bowl, the way Claire had refused to change herself, her genuine disinterest in his wealth, the photos of children's pottery pieces she kept like treasures. No, Nathan was wrong. Claire was real. She had to be. A crisis unfolds. Monday morning arrived cold and gray. Owen dressed in his most expensive suit, the armor of success. The Singapore investors would meet them at the company headquarters at 10 a.m. Everything was arranged, rehearsed, perfect. His phone rang at 8:30, an unknown number. "Owen Fletcher?" A woman's voice, professional but urgent. "Yes?" "This is Portland Memorial Hospital. You are listed as an emergency contact for Grace Fletcher. She was brought in an hour ago following a car accident." The world tilted. "Is she okay?" "She is stable but has sustained injuries. The doctor would like to speak with you. How soon can you get here?" Owen's hands shook as he grabbed his keys. Grace, his little sister, his only real family, the person who believed in him when no one else did, the one who introduced him to Claire because she wanted him to find happiness. He called Nathan while racing toward the hospital. "I cannot make the meeting. Grace was in an accident." "What? Owen, no. We can send someone to the hospital, your assistant, anyone, but you have to be here. These investors flew across the world to meet with you specifically." "My sister is in the hospital. And I'm sorry about that, truly, but this is not just about you anymore. We have 300 employees depending on this deal, investors who trusted us with their money. You cannot just walk away." Owen pulled into the parking garage, his mind spinning. Reschedule the meeting. "They leave tomorrow morning. This is our only shot." Nathan's voice hardened. "You are the CEO. Sometimes that means making impossible choices. Your sister is stable. You can see her after the meeting." The studio's wisdom. Owen sat in his car paralyzed. Everything he had built was on the line. Years of sacrifice, of relentless work, of proving himself. One meeting stood between him and the validation he had chased his entire adult life. But Grace was inside that hospital, scared and hurt. His phone buzzed with a text from Claire, the first unsolicited message she had sent. "Grace told me about the accident before they took her to surgery. I'm here with her. She is worried you will miss your big meeting because of her. She made me promise to tell you she is okay and you should go. But Owen, only you know what matters most." Owen closed his eyes. Claire was at the hospital, Of course she was. Probably had dropped everything the moment she heard, despite barely knowing Grace. That was who she was, someone who showed up for people. He thought about the past 5 years, the success, the accolades, the growing bank account. What had any of it actually given him besides loneliness and sleepless nights? He had proven he could build a company, but what kind of man was he becoming in the process? He remembered something Claire had said in her studio. "This is the wealth I measure my life by." She had been pointing to photographs of children's pottery, to evidence of connection and growth and human transformation. What wealth was he measuring his life by? The choice. Owen called Nathan back.